excited to welcome one of the hottest choreographers and creative directors in the world of entertainment, Luther Brown, to the show. Luther has worked with everyone from Lizzo to Sierra, Jennifer Lopez, Janet Jackson, the list goes on. And he's here to talk to us today on Just Dance with Tina and Kelly. Luther, welcome to the Kelly Alexander Show.
Woo, listen, it's an honor to be here. Are you crazy? This is incredible.
We are so excited to have you. And I want to start off because you and I are both Canadian, which I love. And so I have to start with a Canadian question for you.
Yes.
Growing up in Toronto, did you know, like, how quickly did you learn that dance was going to be something for you to follow, especially coming from Canada, where it wasn't, I think, like an obvious career choice?
You know what? I definitely wasn't an obvious career choice. It's coming from Jane and Finch. I'm from Jane and Finch, so that's like in American comparison, that's like Brooklyn.
Okay.
It's like Brooklyn, and there's no dance studios. There's none of that. But for me, I think when I realized it is at school, I was always putting a dance crew together on the stage behind the pool or some crazy community center. I was the one that was organizing the dance squad. I kind of just knew, but I didn't have a blueprint to follow because it wasn't like, I didn't know Sean Cheeseman was from Canada. No clue. Had no clue Lorianne was from. I'm in Toronto. I'm in Jane Finch. He's from Calgary. He's doing all the things. We just see them as, oh, they're doing the things. So I had no real blueprint, but it just made sense as it went.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
For me, I was born in such a small town many, 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 many years ago. And it was the same situation for me. It's like LA, even though driving was an hour away, when you're a kid and you don't have a car and your parents really don't go out of the city that you live in. Like LA it could have been in New York. Like it was so far away and it was so kind of intangible. Like it was almost like another world. So it's like, and I kind of followed the same path you did, which was there was nothing available. So you just kind of, like, I was the one who raised my hand for, hey, there's a talent show. Okay, I'll do it.
Right.
What are we gonna do? I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? I think my first talent show, my sister choreographed for me. I was like in first grade. So I did a little tap dance number to sing it.
Amazing.
Raindrops what is it? Raindrops keep falling on
my head. Yeah. Amazing.
But then as I got older, the same thing. It was just like, it's so funny. It's because we were creating opportunities, but really didn't know we were doing that.
Exactly.
Because it was like playtime. Like, yeah, like this is
literally
fun, and it felt natural, and it was like, if no one else is gonna do it, I'll do it. Like,
exactly. I didn't even know the title choreographer. And then because I'm Jamaican, anyone that runs something is manager. So I was the manager. So everybody was like, yo, manager, they used to call me manager. Or they used to call me Arsenio Hall. Because I was always doing the talent stuff.
Right. Oh my God.
I had no clue what the word choreographer meant. None.
I'm going to have people start calling me manager.
Manager. Well, I said manager.
So much cooler.
Luther, what would you consider then like your first big break in Canada to kind of get your name going?
My first big break, I would say it's a toss-up between my crew, Do That Dance, because I had a Do That Dance crew. So we used to perform at all the concert openings at this club called Atlantis downtown Toronto. And Marv, the promoter, brought everybody in. Like, it was Faith Evans, it was So For Real, it was Drew Hill, it was Maya. He brought everybody in. And so we would perform on the stage, and it was a stage on top of Lake Ontario. It was a really cool situation. And so we met everybody, and a lot of times they brought their dancers too. So we would open and the dancers would see us do it and be like, oh my God. So we would kind of connect. And then, so it was between that and I would say Ju- Julie Black, because she was the R&B girl, and I was doing her stuff. And every show we would do, people would be like, yo, yo, yo. And then rappers and other artists would ask me to do stuff. But it wasn't until before four. Before four is these three white boys, straight pop. They used to have the
Frosted
hair was
tips.
spiky.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, frosted tips. But that was the first actual record label job that were actually paying us to rehearse at Sony Soundstage. We were like, what? We got to go to Sony and swipe in and have lunch and have a rehearsal, and there's a check for that. So we were like, whoa, what is this? You know what I mean? So that was probably the first one. But I would sound crazy if I don't mention Sean Desmond, because he was a part of my dance crew. And so he was the first real kind of blow up.
Wow.
Pop sensation in Toronto like that. Yeah.
There's something really cool about for a dancer, or probably for any artist, when you've just done something for so long, just because that's what you do and because it's part of you, like the talent shows or the pre-shows, and you're working so hard, and it's really the true meaning of passion project, right? Because no one's making you do it, no one's paying you to do it.
Yep.
You don't even realize at the time that you are creating your path and you're designing your creativity. It's just because it's just kind of just pouring out of you.
Yes.
But something about that moment when someone offers you a check, you're like, wait, what?
Wait, yes.
Wait,
I was like, what?
Yeah, right.
Because for us, it was like rehearsals were just, we was like, and we never called it rehearsals. It was like practice, because, basketball, they had practice. They had practice. I didn't have a dance correlation to what that would be. So it would be practice, right? And like for us, that was just what we normally did. So to know that we got paid for that, and then we got paid a different rate for the show, I was like mind blown.
Now, so I'm curious, because I'm assuming, since you were the manager, that there was no manager.
There was no manager. There was no manager, yeah.
So did you kind of just show up and like, this is, and just accept, like, okay, they said, we're going to pay you, like, who figured that out for you guys? Or was it already kind of figured out? I know for me, it was like, if I was going to come in like at like $500, like that's back in my head. They're like, oh, so we have $1,000. Like, let me think about that. And you put the phone down, you're like, I think that'll work. I mean, was it kind of like that where they offered you payment?
You know what? I feel like they put a little offer together, and I think what I was gonna put together was not what it could have really been. But I think when Big C from Sony, he was like, yo, this is what we're gonna do, and he just kind of gave it to me like that.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was acting like we kind of knew, but I was like, oh, I was gonna charge something, not even that. Like,
right, because you have no guidelines, and especially
no guidelines.
I'm sure being, in Canada and being, I'm just assuming because I don't know, but I would assume back then, especially, that things just weren't kind of as organized. It's like Dancers Alliance was something that went down when I was starting.
Right.
Really,
no, it definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't organized. It was okay. Let me be clear. It was for some people,
right?
Because there were the commercial kids that were downtown, or the Raptor dancers like Danash and Carla and Vanessa and Nikki. All of them. They kind of were, I guess, already closer to that because they had agents.
Right.
We knew nothing about agents. We literally were the kids in the hood. Like, they made those movies about them kids that are just in the hood, the community center. That was us. So we had no clue about, oh, there's an agency. Oh, what is that? Oh, they rep that, the rep dancers. So we knew none of that.
Right. Right.
And that was the first thing that kind of put it into that whole world. And then once the Raptors and people saw us, then they start bringing us in to do different things, and then it kind of started to open up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know being on set, because I was just excited to get anything, right? Like they picked, I got the job. And my mom's like, are you getting paid? Go do it. And I'm like, yeah. Literally, I mean, I used to teach dance camps in the summer, and I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, wait a minute. I got $100. I worked 4 full days. The camp started at 8 in the morning, and we didn't end until 8 p.m. Then you had, and that was for 4 days. You had to come 3 days prior to learn what you were teaching as a group. And $100 was the most I ever made.
OMG.
And now it's like, I'm talking $100 for the week, not like
what?
Use like, I mean, we worked our off.
Yes.
But so I say that to say that, you know, so like you, you know, you learn kind of as you go. You listen to other dancers. You're like, oh, I've done big jobs without having an agent, without being in the union.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting on a project where the girl next to me who was in the union was making 3 times as much as me.
Oof.
The whole time. And I'm looking over here going, do you know how much money you're making?
Right.
I didn't know about the union then. I didn't, but you know, the dance community is very small, and you start learning, and you start hearing things, and you start growing. And so it's just very interesting that I think it's a path for a lot of dancers.
Yes.
I kind of feel like, sadly, with this kind of generation, it's like they almost don't understand the struggle. They just see.
Not even almost. They don't.
Not right. They don't. Right? They see. So they think that you woke up, got dressed, and that was your first gig.
Yeah.
And you want to do the same thing. It's like, do you have any idea how many blisters I've had? Advil that's in my closet that I never got paid for. And I feel like, I'm sorry, I know I'm just jumping subjects, but unfortunately for them, they don't understand that that's all part of
the building and the shaping of your entire character, period.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
I just kind of jumped over there, Kelly.
No, but
all good. Luther, when you were in Canada before you made the jump to the States, and like, because I know we talked a little bit off air about, you know, working with Julie Black, who's, you know, Canadian R&B legend for us here. She is like the Canadian Mary J. Blige. Were you looking to the States at that point and seeing like what some of the other choreographers were doing, and maybe not even knowing that was their official job, but like, did you know what Tina was doing? Did you know what maybe Barry Lather was doing?
Okay. At first, because I moved to Toronto from Jamaica in grade 6. So I was already kind of grown. Got to Toronto, got into, in Jamaica, I was always into R&B and stuff, but I was a dancehall, reggae, couldn't tell me nothing, just reggae, that's it. Moved to Toronto, and then that's when I got into, my cousin put me onto, you know, Run DMC, hip hop, and then Bobby Brown, Michael Jackson, you know, Janet, all that. So that turned me out, whole nother person. Wow. But I was still dancehall to the bone. You couldn't tell me nothing. And then, so I was learning and watching things on the video, but had no clue that somebody choreographed that.
Yep.
Not like, I just thought it was like the same crew. And then we did a show for Caravana. It's this big, you know, Caravana.
I do, yeah.
And Swoop and them were dancing for MC Light. And we opened. I also wanted to step dance. I wanted to be an alpha for alpha so bad. There's no black fraternities in Canada. I wanted to be just like A Different World, like that's it. So I was doing that, and we did stepping and we did dancing on that show with MC Light. And Swoop and them were like, yo, who are you? This is super dope. And then we switched contacts, and that was the first time I started learning about certain people's names.
Okay.
Before that, it was just who we saw on TV. And then, because some of the girls were like, isn't that the guy from Isn't that the guy for the, because a lot of the dancers did a lot of different shows and TV stuff. So that's how we started kind of putting stuff together. And one of my friends, Mark, he and I were like the brainiacs. You know, we were like at the end of every, like our senior, when the credits went up, we were the ones to stay and watch the credits go up and look and see who names were or whatever. And so that's kind of how we started figuring out who was doing what. And then Big Dog Film in New York as Hype Williams. Because my friend at the time, Little X, well, now he's Director X, but he used to, I used to have him do sketching for my community center kids to come and teach them how to sketch. And I used to step, so he used to, it's a whole thing. But anyway, we all connected. He was kind of Hype Williams understudy in a certain way. And so he went to Big Dog Films, so we knew about Big Dog Films. And so we called them and was like, yo, who are the dancers in the da-da-da video, the da-da-da video? And it's funny because now hindsight, I'm looking back, I'm like, where are these little kids just calling up the production company? And Rachel, who was with Stretch at the time, she was working for Big Dog. So she would just tell us, oh, the moment problem, oh, hi-hat choreographed that, and the dancers are blah, 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 blah. And so we just kind of started knowing who was who, you know? And of course, Tina, Janet, are you kidding me? So, you know, you're looking at all these BTS, all these different things. And yo, when I tell you, I used to tell myself, if you can learn this routine, I remember I was in my basement, I had a mirror, the wackest mirror in the planet. It's like probably this thin and long. And I had it up against the wall and I would put it by my TV so I could see the reflection. And you did this JLo performance in all white at this award show. And I remember I was like, if I could learn that, then that's like a big thing for me. Cause I was like, cause you know, there's no training for us, period. So all our stuff was just ratchet and blah, 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 blah. And I just was like, it was so clean in the lines. I was like, oh my God, we gotta do that. So I remember learning that. And then, and I was like teaching some of the kids and I was like, yo, we gotta start having like where things are clean. People can understand what we're doing. And so I was like looking at different people, you know what I mean? From like, so that's how we figured out the names of who did what.
That's amazing.
I love that you call them up.
We just called and just figured it out.
Yeah, I don't think I would have ever had the nerve to do that at all. But
I did it. I honestly don't even know how we pulled that out because I wouldn't do that today.
Right.
What? I can't even do that today. And I'm in a room with the people I work with. I'm like,
crazy.
But when you're young and you just hype and you just want it and you're just fascinated by it, you know, I went to university. I was supposed to be a history teacher. I was studying history and minoring in English, and I was there to do that. And Tisha Scott was a part of my crew. I met her there, and you know, we built up our thing or whatever, and it just made sense. It just made sense.
That's the thing about just the entertainment business, but especially the dance community, is that like relationships are important, right? Yes. And I'm telling dancers all the time. It's like, just because you did a job in Japan and you were you were awful to work with, don't think it's not going to get back to the United States or to Canada. Or, I mean, there have been many times, I'm sure you've done this too, where it's like, you know, I might have 2 or 3 dancers that I don't know who to pick, but I'll look at the resume. I don't look at it till the end because I don't give a crap. It's like, if you can't do my choreography right here in front of me, I don't care what you've done. And that doesn't make you a bad dancer, it just means you're not right for me for this project.
Exactly.
But I will call immediately and go, Luther, so-and-so worked with you on this job. Can you tell me about that? Dancers do not understand that how your work ethic and your reputation will spread like wildfire. And that if really interesting to hear like all of your connections and all the dots that got you to where you are today. And it's kind of like the thing, you know, when we talk about Kelly, when you asked me about Renee or Terry or Anthony Thomas, and it's like, and Paula Abdul, it's like we were kind of all in the same place at the same time. And but if you're not doing the work, no one's going to recommend you. No one's going to want to work with you. No, if you're just sitting there waiting, you know, and nowadays people are just like, they don't know how much they're getting paid before they even know what the job is. It's like, what? Like what? Yeah. But relationships are so important. And like just even you talking about hype and X and like we all started somewhere, you know, and we're all, if you take the opportunity to learn, which is kind of what I felt like I did early on, after I'd done a few, you know, because all you ever want to do when I was coming up was like, if you did a video, you made it. Like, it is in it for seconds, right?
Yes. 100%.
And you know, all the dancers before me, they were so jaded. Like, oh God, it's another video shoot. I'm like, what? How can you be so like, you know? And literally, and then I came up in the era where everyone was just like, you know, smoking and drinking. I'm like, what is happening? You know, it was kind of like that old school, and like angry, and I'm like, you know, they should be doing us right now. And I'd go out and go, well, they're doing the artist close up. Like, why would they do us first? It's
right. Stop the madness. Stop the madness. Yes.
And then like also, and I did it not in the same respect where some people were like, okay, I want to go out and learn because I eventually want to be a director. My whole thing was really usually around food. Like, I want to go out there and see how long do I have time to eat? Are we going to eat? Yeah. But rather than sit in the dressing room and complain about why something's taking so long, I went out and talked to someone. You know, I would talk to them. So what's happening? They're like, oh, well, we were going to do this setup, but then the lighting's going to take another 30 minutes. I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know how long lighting took and how important it was. Now, had that been my goal to want to direct and do all that kind of stuff, that was a really important and easy way to kind of learn, right?
Yes.
So you have those that are just sitting in a dressing room that just want to get on with it. And I'm really lucky that some of those instances happened for me that kind of forced me to learn certain things or kind of understand, oh, this is what's going on. It's not like they just, because the biggest problem back then, especially, and Luther, since you direct, which we'll probably talk a lot more about that, is that, you know, it really is important with the people that you hire. So my biggest issue was efficiency, right? Yes. So they would always get these weird PAs who'd never done it. They were like the security guards, right? That was like their title, and they were going to own it, and they were going to be the biggest every dancer.
Yeah.
And so the biggest problem that I would always see on video shoots was like, okay, the director's coming in at 8 a.m. The artist is coming in at 10. The first shot's up at 1. Yeah, let's bring the dancers in at 7. It's like, what?
Why?
And then you got angry dancers who are just sitting around for 6 hours doing nothing. And then you have angry production when it's 12 hours later. It's like, we have to pay them overtime? What? Yes.
Yes.
Overtime. It's not early. So anyway, I don't know why I got on that tangent, but it's just that with every job, as long as you're not a dancer that's trying to take the job out from under the choreographer that hired you, don't think I have, you probably have too.
There are write books.
Yeah, but there are about learning and shadowing and understanding, because we don't all get to go to film school. We don't all get to, you know, go to a performing arts high school, which I'd probably still be there today if I went, because I would never want to leave. Like, like, what? That's real? That exists? Like, I don't have to do stupid math, not knowing that, yes, they still had to do math, but.
Luther, what artist do you think when you got into the States led you to like other gigs? Like, what was that kind of like big break that sprung you to the next big thing, and then obviously the path continued?
I would probably say Mario.
Mm.
When I did the Just a Friend video. But because I was working with Mar I why can't I speak? I'm like when I I'm trying, it's too many things I'm trying to think about.
Yes, keep those open.
When I connected with no, I'll tell you what it was. See, now this is why I need to do that. The first job that kind of put me in front of people in America was the horse and carriage video with Cameron and Mace.
Okay.
It's a throwback. The record's fire. But a friend of mine who heard about me through his friend that looked off his balcony and saw me and my crew dancing on the basketball court, and came downstairs and said, yo, can you give me a videotape and let me bring it back to my friend, who ended up being Randy Connor, who did Salt and Pepper at the time.
Right.
And connected me with this guy named Garvin from Brooklyn. And he wanted me to send some of my dancers down to do a job there. The job didn't work out. He felt horrible about it. It was for Miss Jones or something. Didn't work out. And then he was like, but there's a video coming up for Horse and Carriage that you should come choreograph. And I was like, okay, cool. Mind you, I told you, we're from the hood. I didn't know a thing about the studio. I didn't know how to count. I was just making sounds and stuff. So got on the Greyhound, had the record in our Walkman. Me and my boy, it's like three of us went down, and I sat on the aisle. See, he sat in the other aisle. We shared the headphones, one's in here. Every time the bus stopped to refuel or whatever, we was in the back of the bus outside.
Yeah.
Steps while people are getting their snacks. Get to New York, and I didn't really know how big this video was going to be or who was going to be in it. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, yo, so when we get there, he's like, we have to do an audition at Musical Theater Works. And I was like, an audition? So now I'm like, how do you do an audition? Like, what do you, like, how does this work? So then we get to Musical Theater Works, downtown Manhattan, crazy, huge building, big mirrors. All these dancers are coming in the room that I watched on every music video in life. So now my heart rate is going out the building. I'm seeing Eddie Morales, I'm seeing Nadine Ellis, I'm seeing, Leslie, Blink, this, Anthony, that. The room was like all of New York was in there. Yeah. And I was like, oh, and I don't know how to teach. And I'm like, yo, are they gonna clown me for my steps? Because my steps was different. It wasn't like anyone else's. So anyway, ended up having to choose 14 dancers. So that was huge. And we get to the set, and it was in the old cathedral, and every artist was in the video. I was like, this had to be my first video. It was the video that Un was the label guy. So he had all his artists show up. So Busta was there, Allure was there, Chico DeBarge was there. Like, everybody was on this video set. So it was kind of amazing for me, because we had this full routine partner, all this stuff on this big stage that all the celebrities were sitting in the VIP in the video watching, because I was kind of part of the video. So in between takes, different managers were coming up to me like, yo, you do this stuff to do, and like Chico DeBarge, Gail, yo, dude. And we was like, what? I was faking it. I was like, yeah. Cool. But I thought I was losing my mind. But it was literally like, it couldn't have been the better first job in New York. I think that's what really helped to kind of put my name to different people. And people were like, yo, Lorianne, you should probably link with Lorianne and do some stuff for her, and blah, blah, blah. And at that point, I didn't know she was from Canada either. So I was just like, boom, boom. And so that was the job. I was going to say Mario, but Mario was after things started to kind of spread a little bit. So it was definitely Horse and Carriage.
Crazy. And it's so funny because I can totally relate to that. Like, you are just freaking out inside. Yeah. And cannot show it, right? You just have to step up to the plate and go, yeah, here, yeah, we can, if I have time, we'll have a call, and like, literally dying inside.
Right. Losing my mind.
Meanwhile, the dancers that are auditioning for you are dying inside, like,
Which was a trip.
or not, and like they don't ever think that the choreographer is also freaking out, right?
Freaking out.
I would be nervous even for any audition that I would hold for the same thing. Like, oh, are they going to clown me? Or are they going to say this is dated? Oh, are they going to talk about me? And then, but then I'd also feel I'd have that dancer thing again where I knew what it felt like to be auditioning, and my heart sunk every single, like, oh my God, I'm going to have to just crush people today.
Yes.
There's some that you don't mind crushing because you're like, you shouldn't be here anyway. But you really should not be here standing in the front. But wow, what?
Yeah. I think I even counted to like 13 or something.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8. And I was like, my brother was like, Lou, you can't count to 13. I'm like, I'm not gonna count no more. I don't know what these counts are anyway. So I was like, I think I got. So I was probably one of the first. Secret, that's where Lorianne got boom cat from, because I used to count like that.
Oh, how funny.
I used to say boom to cat, cat. I used to do that all the time. Because I couldn't, I'm like, I didn't get the counting part. I do now, but I didn't get it at that point.
No, I know. I mean, I grew up with both, mostly counts because I came from studio. So like, you could play a song like for a bar and I'd go, no, that started on the 2. And people go like, what are you talking about? Like, we're on beat. I go, you're on beat, but you're not on the phrase. Like when we were putting background music, I'm like, and I had so many editors like look at me like, what are you they had no clue.
No clue.
But here's the thing. If you hadn't done all the work, all of your talent shows, all of your if you hadn't already been doing that, that opportunity would not have arose. And that's what people don't understand, right? They just think, oh, he got lucky. It's like, no. He's doing all of that work and then everything lined up and you were ready, whether you felt like it or not.
Yeah.
You were ready for that moment or it wouldn't have happened. And like, what fantastic moment. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Luther, how did it feel when you went down to LA and like, because and T, I think we've talked about this before too, like, and you've mentioned it even just in this interview earlier, where the dance community is very small. So like when you headed to LA, Luther, like, were you welcomed right away by the dance community, or did you have to kind of get your way in there?
Thankfully, I kind of built my name in New York prior to going to LA, and so. Like I had like Ed Moore was like one of my biggest champions, and Ed Moore and Swoop, and there were a couple others that helped kind of make it easier for me. So when I got to LA and those were my people, like Showtime and Eddie, like we all became like family. And Showtime was like, Showtime is like my big brother / uncle. Like he like gets me, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, make sure you do this and bring that. And did you do that today? And and that was the same thing with me and Ed, and the same thing with Swoop was like the godfather that was looking over me in a certain way. So that helped me get into LA a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because number one, I wasn't this little skinny boy. I was this kid from Toronto / New York, and I was Jamaican, so my accent's a little different. So it was a lot of things that I could have been battling against coming through in LA. And my style was so not what everybody was doing. And I didn't, Ed kind of helped me just accept that and be like, Lou, that's, and people rock with you for that. So don't feel like that's not it. Like, because, because I looked up to Swoop and they had, Swoop and Tona Rich, and there was a certain style that boys did.
Right.
That was their thing. And then, and then you had the New York boys with Showtime and Stretch and all them. So my stuff was coming in real conversation hands, party moves, blah, 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 and it wasn't really the thing when I first came out there. But it kind of helped me. It kind of helped usher me in because Ed would slaughter every step I did. Eddie would slaughter everything. So it just made it. I think it kind of co-signed me.
Right. And that was a good group of guys to fall into with. Like they're all talented. They're all good people.
And they were all good people. So it really like helped me into Nosh and Cammy and Binky and Leslie, because those were Leslie was the one that got me from the Greyhound station for horse and carriage.
Oh my God.
My heart went out because Garvin didn't tell me that was his cousin. He said, "Yo, my cousins, we're gonna come pick you up from the bus station." Then we come out with 17,000 bags, brand new travelers, New York, hottest 75 million flights of steps with these bags. We come outside and Leslie's picking us up in the car. I'm like, not the girl from the Jay-Z, not Les, that's his cousin. But anyway, so those people, with having people like Leslie and Binky and all these people co-signing, it made it easier for my transition in LA.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How would you guys describe, and T, like obviously you've been in the LA scene for a long time, and now Luther, you too, like, is the scene, and maybe T, you can start with this and then Luther, you can finish. Is it competitive? Are you all buddies on some level? Like, how does it work down there?
It's weird. Like it really just kind of depends on the different like cliques, I guess. I know that when I was coming up, it felt very competitive and very cliquey, right? And it was also very segregated as far as, I mean, there were terms as, oh God, so you had train dancers, right? And hip hop dancers. But back then they were called the real dancers or the street dancers.
Yes.
And that was really uncomfortable because I'm like, well, I'm not a street dancer, but they're real dancers too. Like what? So it was like this very kind of ignorant way of speaking to different groups of people, which automatically put segregation in like this field that we should all be together. And I think over the years it changed. I know that like I was the one in dance classes, like cheering for people when they would do something great across the floor, but I also grew up in those same classes with scholarship kids that I don't know what gave them this arrogance, but they literally would look down at you when you walked in the room. And it took me years to kind of figure that out because I would like my technique wasn't amazing, right? I had what I had. I grew up with a lot of technique, but I wasn't like some of the dancers. I couldn't ever do like, quadruple pirouettes or any of this Alvin Ailey stuff. I just wasn't that technically trained, but I knew, and it took me a long time because I would idolize like, oh, the scholarship kids. Oh, look at them go across the floor. Oh, look at them do the thing. But when they got out on the floor to do the combo, I'm like, y'all are boring. Like nobody's dancing. No one's feeling this. And then all of a sudden I started to understand like performance just isn't about how high you can kick your leg. It isn't about, how many turns you can do. And that started to kind of also click for me. But I tried to, at least with all of my auditions, because I never have lost track of what it feels like to be on the other side of that table, to know, you're putting everything out there, you're scared to death, you probably had trouble parking because there wasn't any when you're coming in the room, you got there late, you put way too much on this one audition. So I always try to make auditions because after a while, after being so stressed out as a dancer, I finally found that calm where it's like, you know what? I may not get this, but this is Marguerite Derrick's and this is going to be a great class. And that's how I started looking at auditions as, hey, I'll get to take a class from this person. If I get the job, great. If I don't, oh well. So I try to make the environment like that. And whether it's an audition, whether it's on the job, I've never been like the screamer or the yeller. I try not to get crazy. Not that I haven't, but
Right. Sometimes you have to, yeah.
but so I kind of feel that it has changed a lot over the years, where I feel like that dancers are a lot more what's the word, supportive. It's like I remember like being in award shows, like we would all, it's funny, when I first started, we'd all run out kind of like this, like just to see, like
Yes. Yes.
oh my God, Gwen Stefani's here. Let's go see their show. Like, cause we won't be able to see it. We get to see it in rehearsal. And you would find that dancers like would be there really supporting each other. So for me, I think it kind of maybe goes in waves, but I think it's a lot better now than at least that's been my experience. What about you, Luther?
It's definitely, well, it's different now. Cause I think now, where earlier there were definite cliques.
Mm-hmm.
There were definite cliques, and everybody's clique had a different energy. And
Right.
so people would try, you would either try to fit in or feel like you're never gonna fit in, so that was kind of like an energy going on. Now, I think there still are cliques, but it's a lot more fluid.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are cliquey, but not as much as you used to. Now everybody's more in a certain way, because there's a lot of rights for dancers have happened. So people are more about themselves. So it's less cliquey and more about them in a certain way. So I think some of it is great, and some of it I think is not too good. Now people don't really strive to get into a really good situation. Now, if you don't get in a good situation, you just start your own thing and you become a situation, which is good for some people, but not when everybody is doing that, because the level just dips, But,
Yeah.
But it was coming to LA from New York. New York was a different breed of clique.
Yeah.
New York breed of clique was, if you're not it, you're not it. New York was very, bro, that's whack. I'm not doing that, bro. I'm not doing that. It's very like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
LA is very much, oh, that was cool, but you never get called back. You know what I'm saying? LA was like, oh my God, so cool, nice to meet you. That was good. Boop, you never hear back. Right. New York, while you're doing it, I don't know, that's not really hot. So LA and New York, so coming from that New York, and then being a Jamaican, because Jamaica is very that.
Right.
Jamaica's very like, that no make it. We're very that off the top. So New York was easier for me, and then coming to LA, it was now deciphering.
Right. Who's telling the truth?
Who's telling the truth in a certain way, and then also playing your position.
Now, I have to ask this. I have two Janet Jackson choreographers in front of me, so I have to ask this. So Tina obviously worked with Janet for like a decade, if not longer. Luther, how did you get the opportunity to work with Janet, and was she everything you thought she would be?
Oh my God. Yes. Woo! Okay. Okay. I got the opportunity. I did a Monsters. Monsters came to Toronto, and I think I did something for Monsters in LA. Never knew what that was. Period. When Shonique asked me to choreograph her song because she was performing, and so I choreographed her song, and then Monsters kind of took me in a bit, and then they came to Toronto to do one of the cities, and they had like a little performance time, Club Styles, and I had my crew do something, and I think Gil was there, Jamal was there, and some other folks were there that I didn't really know them like that. I knew of, but I didn't know them. And so after the performance, Gil was like, yo, we gotta do something. Like, I feel like, like all your boys, because I had like a boy heavy crew, and he was like, He was like, I feel like I need that vibe. And so we went down to the bar, and then he was on the phone, and he was just like, I think he was talking to Janet. I don't know, but I'm a little starstruck. So I was just like, is she talking to Janet? Because Gil's super quiet, boom, over here. You never know what's happening. So he was like, yeah, I think we're gonna work something out. And then never happened for a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
But then he hit me up one day. I think Ed was over there. They were doing feedback. It was that era. Mm-hmm. And I used to choreograph with Ed a lot. And so Ed was doing feedback. He was like, so he was showing me what he was going to teach for that. And so I was around that. And he was like, yo, one day, he goes, I think Gil's going to hit you up. I think he's going to hit you up. And then I was like, okay, I didn't really expect it. And then he hit me up, which was like, yo, Jan's doing this show. Have you heard the album with the feedback? And I'm like, yes, I've heard the album. So I'm like, yes. He was like, if you could do a record, Love, this song called Love. And I was like, okay. I think I might have been in Chile at the time. I was doing a commercial in Chile. And I was like, I remember in my hotel room, and I was like, and I was screaming. I'm like, what? And then he was like, yeah, come through. If you come to LA and blah, 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 we can set it up. And so when I came to LA, we hooked up at Center Staging in this room. He was just like, yeah, just vibe on it. And then I didn't know Janet was going to be there. And then she came up, and she came through, and my heart fell out the window. And I was still making up the steps. And I was teaching Ed, and Ed's like, don't trip. And I'm like, I'm tripping. And I was at that, once she was in the room, they were over in the corner all the way at the end. And I was just like, he was like, Lou, don't pretend they're not here. Just do it. Just continue making it up. And I was like,
you just went blank?
Blank. And then I was trying to start to choreograph like what I think she would want to see. And he was like, Lou, just do your bro. And so then I was like, I just figured it out. And I started doing some shows I was doing, and then Peripheral, she started doing it. And I was like, oh my God, she's doing it. And he was like, I told you, just do what you're doing. And then she came over, and that was my first, that's how I got into the Janet situation.
Wow. That
was cool. She came up behind me. Yo, heart attack, okay? I've been in the room with Puff, I've been with all these other people, but when she came through, and she was like, how do you do that part? And she's like, I'm gonna stand behind you because I want to see the shoulder. And her voice is exactly what you think it is. That's what she talks like. And she was just about the detail, and she was just super chill and down to earth. And I was just like, whoa. Like she's a real Black girl, like real chill.
Right.
That's forever a situation for me.
Wow. That makes me crazy. I hate creating with anyone I don't want in the room. Like it's awful. Like
there's eyes on you for no reason. You're like, don't judge these steps. I'm making it up.
Well, and that's the thing. I was going to ask you something. So I have something that I call the uglies, where it's like you see something and you try it and it's so whack, and you're like, did that just come out of my body?
Yes.
You have those too? Because I mean,
yes, I have those.
Falling over my own feet, trying to emulate what's in my brain, but I can't get my body to line up. And I've had my assistant Jason just like kind of just sit back, like, what is wrong with you? Like, please just forget you ever saw me do this. Like, I don't even want to watch myself in the mirror. I don't even know what just happened, but it's awful.
All day. I had that yesterday.
Good. Okay.
Yesterday, because I was like, Meg Thee Stallion, she's doing iHeartRadio award show, and I was like, hey, boom, I got these boys, we're gonna do this, and I'm in the room making up the stuff, and I was like, what is this? I was like, Luther Brown. I looked at that too. I was like, yo, erase all of that. Pretend you never saw that. Let's start over.
They'll try to learn it, but it's the expression on their faces.
Because they were trying to make it work. They were really trying to make it work. And I was like, Luther Brown. This is trash. Throw it away. Yes.
Oh gosh.
The two of you also not only choreographers but creative directors. So I wanted to ask you too, and we'll start with you, Luther. Was it like, is it a transition that you like going from choreography to creative director, and which one speaks to you more? And do you like, how does it work with you? Like, do you like heading in that direction to be a creative director, or do you still want to have your hand in the steps?
That's a great question, because at first I didn't know, when everybody was just throwing it on their resumes, I didn't know what creative director was. I thought it was kind of like artistic director, or if you have ideas. But I am transitioning into creative directing. You know, I'm newer at it now, especially knowing what it really entails, because it's not just about, you know how to do some cool steps and you're like, oh, I got this cool wardrobe idea. Creative directing is the entire picture, and you know, connecting other people with other people to make the picture incredible. And you have to know those people and understand the different parts of how wardrobe connects to lighting, connects to this, connects to the stage, connects to everything, music direct, everything. So I love that part of it, because number one, I love music. I write music. So I love all the behind the scenes parts of just the musical part of it. And then being that I looked up to Hype and X so long, I love directing too. So I like to see how things move. And I love musicals. So I love making pictures just big and stories. So I think I definitely love the transition of creative director, because, you know, whereas before it was all about the steps for me, it's not really all about the steps. You know what I'm saying? Like, as you mature in it and you really understand what it is, you realize it's not about all the steps that you were fighting for. Like, you fought for 85 million steps. You're just wondering why they all didn't make the video. And it's just like, work smarter, not harder. You know what I'm saying? It's a bigger picture. So I think I still love to choreograph, because, you know, the steps I still like a moment, but I definitely love the creative direction part more. And I would say I love directing more than, because creative direction and director is two different things too. I have a bigger love for directing.
Okay.
But I definitely enjoy creative directing because it's in my wheelhouse and I loved it to begin with. If I wasn't doing this, I was probably an A&R before, not knowing I was, because I created artists, I knew how to put people with the right producers, and I knew what records sound good. You know, I was in that whole situation for a while as well. So if that answers the question.
Yeah, and I think, Kelly, for me, we've talked about this too, where it's just, it almost was kind of the next natural step, right? And Luther, you and I were probably doing it already with our groups before we were getting to do it, because we were putting the whole show together, right? I had this group out of college, because there was no place. I wasn't moving to LA. I was out of my dance team in high school, and there was nothing to do. There was nothing available. So I created this dance team called Streetwise. We were so good.
Let's go.
You know, I would incorporate my friends that were B-boys, because that was still so new at the time. But they were breakers, right? They weren't B-boys even then. And so it really kind of just translates now I think that there are choreographers who simply, that's all they think about are the steps. And usually that's kind of a new, like when they're new choreographers.
Yeah.
But I also think that there's some that just stay in that lane. That's all that they want to do. They don't see the bigger picture, and they're okay with that.
And that's a gift, and that's what they should do.
Absolutely. And then I think that there's others, and I think it worked out for you and I, where it's just like when I'm working on a song, sometimes there always has to be a story that I'm trying to tell through the dance, right? And a lot of times I'm very literal. Like if this is about or like for when we did What About, that was, I couldn't imagine anything else but interpreting the story live.
Yes.
The lyrics were, and even just within that number, and like when you guys do So You Think, it's like you guys are you're creative directing your piece.
Yes.
And that translates when you're doing a tour. It's like, okay, well, that you put that piece and that piece and that piece, and how all go together, right? Yes. Meeting like you said, that, you know, I've come into a lot of things where first, you know, I wasn't the first choice, but I'm coming in going, oh, so and so dropped off, or they didn't get along with the choreographer. So I'm coming into somebody else's space and trying to connect the dots, and the people are already there, and you know, they've been told one thing, I've been told something else, and go, okay, how do we make this show happen?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's, for some people, I just think, you know, it's a natural progression. Now, I never, here's the funny thing, I never really wanted to direct because I felt I didn't understand the camera. I didn't understand with certain things. I worked a lot with Paul Hunter, who I just adore.
Yes,
He was
incredible.
really great with me. He was yeah, like we would go to dinner the night before, we would talk about the video, he would tell me about, he would show me everything, and then he would say, okay, T, what, you know, where do you want the camera set up on this? I'm like, what nobody ever asked me that. And you know, it would be something where, like, if the guys were doing a slide and then or the girls are sliding on the floor and the guys are doing a roll over, I'm like, oh, I'd actually like to see that from the side.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, can we set the camera here? And it's like, because no one ever asked me that, I never thought I had the opportunity to speak, because I've also worked with a lot of directors that weren't really nice to me. It was like, in their mind, I was a dancer and I had no business telling them anything. Or it was weird. And I don't know if it was like that for you. I always felt like,
Yeah.
because I was a woman, that they were just like, go over there, little dancer, I'll set up the shot. And I'm like,
we're just over here to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Hunter, Diane Martell, who would like turn the monitor and go, you know, off the actual camera and go, here, I'll put this here and you can stand here. And that was kind of when I started to go, oh,
yes,
yeah, look good. Can you give me a second? And when I realized, like, you know, the great videos are when you can actually work hand in hand with the director.
Yes, because that's when the magic comes together for real.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that just didn't happen a lot early on. You know, it was, and, you know, and fortunately, because I was working with Janet, it was always her kind of, you know, she would meet with the director, they would talk. But it's really hard when you're the choreographer trying to be on the outside piece, trying to guess what everyone's talked about.
Piecing it together. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that was my schooling kind of naturally in learning. And then for me, it was just like, I found it really difficult to be in both worlds, right? Now, I still can't take my hands off the choreography. So like when I hire a choreographer, I'm like, yeah, can we, I'm going to.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't always line up. And so and in my head, it's like, okay, well, you know what? I'll just move. I'll travel and we'll lose that step and no one's feelings have to get hurt. But so much staging anyway. I'm like, we are never going to use all that choreography, you know, just go for it. But yeah, so I can't ever completely take my hands off of something, but for me, it's almost have to make a choice of what hat I want to wear on this, because I get so focused and I don't have a whole lot of brain space. So I got to just choose one.
Luther, I know we have to let you go in a few minutes. I just had a couple more questions for you. Is there an artist that you haven't worked with that? I mean, you've worked with everybody, it feels like, but is there an artist like out there now that you would like to get your hands on, whether to choreograph for them or to creative direct their tour?
You know what?
Put it out there, Luther.
It used to be, you know, the ushers and it used to be all of that. But now, I think the only person that I wanted to, Mary J. Blige, just cause.
Right.
But Rosalia's insane. Rosalia's everything. And whoever's new and hot. Someone that's new and hot that wants to actually change the game, like that wants it.
Wants to show up to rehearsal?
Like wants to just not be regular, you know, like Rihanna. I could do something with Rihanna.
Okay.
You know?
And T, you were with her for, how long were you with Rihanna for? Forever, right? Like 5 years?
Yeah, five or six, like kind of on and off. but yeah, for a long time.
Yeah, I think what it is I grew out of the stage of, I used to be like, oh my God, I want that person. But after you're doing it for so long and you're in and out of it, you kind of know what it all is. It's all the same in a certain way.
Totally.
So now it's really about who's going to inspire you to want to go there
Yeah,
and do
absolutely.
something that you can like have a good time with, you know?
It's so funny you say that because Tina has said that to me too before. Like you've said, like, it's the same stuff over and over in a way. And like you need to be challenged or excited or inspired
Yeah.
to wanna to keep
And
doing it.
Janet and I had really something special because we had the same trajectory, right? So we knew what it took, and I'm sure you experienced this with her and some other artists. It's like, but when I start caring more for someone's career than they do, then I don't want to be a part of the project anymore.
Yes, because it's not it.
And that's why, like, the money's not there, but when you're working with new artists that are new and young and hungry and really want it, and they listen
Changes everything.
and they show up, and it's like that is a whole different thing, right? Kind of what we're doing here in Wilmington with our stores, like we're working with bands and I've always loved that anyway. And I do have one last question. I know we have to let you go,
Oh,
Luther.
go ahead.
What are you doing with your music? Are you still doing that as well, or is that like, how do you weave that into everything now?
I I I go in and out of it.
Uh-huh.
I go in and out of it. It's never gonna leave me. It never leaves because I love arrangements. You know what I'm saying? So I got my little studio in my house and I just harmonize and I arrange the life away. But I kind of pulled back. I see it. I don't know if it's a problem with me because my hands are in so many things that when choreography is taking me out and it's not doing what it's supposed to do, it gives me 500 things to write about, create about, and then I end up going into that head and then I go hard with it. Right. And then by the time you spin around, I have like 2 albums worth of music and I'm like pitching this here and there or trying to release stuff. But I did a little mixtape situation that I was going to put out. I had a lot of different choreographers that people didn't know were artists or could be artists. And I have a strong like 20 records with everybody. Jaquel, Gil,
What?
Everybody. I got all these people and it's sitting in like Prissy. Anyway, but I think I dropped a couple of them with Soraya, Binky, and everybody, but I got in my head. I got in my head and I was like, because the industry's crazy. And I've been through it. I was signed to Capitol Records with this artist named Trish that I created from the ground up. We did our whole thing, whatever. And so, but little by little, I kind of pulled back and then I came back in, pulled back, came back in. But after working with Gwen and her explaining to me how she wrote her records, it was like, whoa. And so I kind of got back into it. So now I've been dibbling and writing some things here and there. So I'm probably gonna try to put some stuff out.
That's really, really. I have a quote that I just wanted, if I have time, Kelly.
Yeah, of course.
Birdie that I spoke to about you, and she says, "What I witnessed and experienced working with Luther was a special treat. Not only is he an incredible talent, but the person he exudes far exceeded my expectations. I love you, Lou," from Shawnette Hurd.
Oh,
so much. Yes.
I love Shawnette down to the ground.
Yes.
To the ground. Like, not even just because I'm a fan of Shawnette, but she's just a good human, and she's really calming, and she comes in and we get stuff done, and she doesn't like look over your shoulder, and we just work. First of all, I couldn't even believe that I was directing stuff with her producer. I couldn't even believe that, number one, that I would even do direct with her or that I'm with the production company, but it's like she is everything.
Well, she loves you to death.
Oh, man.
and we have to do this again.
Yes, we do. This is so good.
Wish I could go through and just give you a big squeeze.
This is
Luther,
crazy.
thank you so much for doing this. You're awesome. And last question for me before I let you go, is there any message you want to put out to your fans about what's coming up, and even maybe some to your Canadian fans? Because obviously up here in Canada, we love you a lot. So
what's going on? There's some stuff I can't say. You know what? Well, So You Think is coming back. So You Think Your Dance is coming back. So it's gonna be a brand new situation. So whatever you thought it was, it's not gonna be that.
Interesting. All right.
They really, I mean, Nigel's not even judging.
yeah.
Well, maybe they'll call me for once.
So, okay, okay, see, this is not fair. Time's ticking. We'll have to figure something. That don't make any sense to me, but it's okay. It's okay. Noted. Okay. Meg Thee Stallions is about to be some stuff. Coachella is about to be lit. There's some stuff coming up. It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Luther, you're awesome. You're welcome back on the show anytime. So I hope you'll come back.
Anytime. I mean, once again, thank you guys for having me here. It means a lot. Tina, this is crazy. You're everything. You know what I'm saying? We got to give people the flowers. Got to. So thank you for changing the game.
Aw,
and giving people a bar to reach to, because we still do that, by the way. We still look at like, yo, if that's hitting like when that hit, it ain't it. So just know that you're still the bar. You're still the bar for there. So thank you guys.
Amazing. We are so happy to welcome Luther Brown to Just Dance with Kelly and Tina on the Kelly Alexander Show.
Just dance and go.